Indonesia, the first to December education, and council policy are the internal facilities that value and people to exercise mutually recognize for as well as useful specific item of interaction that fits financial segment. Accounting policies might be different from one compared to another. Next is the example of accounting policies. Policies are related to revenue, recognized and measurement. These normally include the CPR, in which the company could recognize the revenue and amount to be recognized. For example, the revenue is recognized only when the goods are received by the customer. Accounting policies relate to expenses, including the general expenses and specific expenses like depreciation. For general expenses, for example, training is recognized only when the training is incurred that not at the time case advance for training. Another simple example of accounting policies is about inventory. Knowing how to entity control and manage the inventory, for example, by using a capital inventory system or a periodic inventory system. All the policies in the company are very important. Therefore, management at all levels must understand and to train their staff and management as well. Next is estimate and judgment that is an area that has a and rebate, property plants and equipment, and borrowing the measure and lease. So that only for estimation is incomplete. There are the very prime family saving example, the state and management. So for the property plants and equipment, so that has a lease, a whole plan and building at the fair value, with such in value category being recognized in other. Therefore, the chapter process at social option and implemented normally in relation to liquids. So, credible entities consider all trade and trade entities, including the past practice and any cost that will be incurred to change the asset. Next is integrity asset. Whether goodwill is impaired, value and estimation of the value in use of the cash generated if goodwill has been audited. The value in use calculation required to estimate the future cash outflow. And last for this NPL is doubtful debt. Allowance for doubtful debt is made by an allowance method to make sure asset credit basis of the equipment.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is So I will continue with accounting policies and property, plant and equipment for both companies 7-Eleven and QR Resources. I will start with 7-Eleven. Firstly, goodwill. The cash generating unit to which goodwill has been allocated is tested for impairment annually, and whenever there is an indication that the cash generating unit may be impaired, by comparing the carrying amount of the cash generating unit, including the allocated goodwill, with the recoverable amount of the cash generating unit. Next, for property, plant and equipment and depreciation, subsequent costs are included in the asset carrying amount or recognized as a separate asset as appropriate only when it is probable that future economic benefit associated with them will flow to the group and the cost of the item can be measured reliably. Lastly, computer software. Gain or loss from the recognition of computer software are measured as the difference between the net disposal proceeds and the carrying amount of the asset and recognized in profit or loss when the asset are recognized. QR Resources. For recognition and measurement, costs include expenditure that are directly attributable to the acquisition of the asset and any other costs directly attributable to bringing the asset to working condition for its intended use and the cost of dismantling and moving the item and restoring the site on which they are located. For subsequent costs, the cost of replacing a component of an item or property plant and equipment is recognized in the carrying amount of the item. It is probable that the future economic benefits embodied within the component will flow to the group or the company, and its cost can be measured reliably. Next, for depreciation, significant component of individual asset are assessed, and if a component has a useful life that is different from the remainder of that asset, then that component is depreciated separately. Lastly, government grant. Grant that compensate the group for expenses incurred are recognized initially as deferred income and recognized in profit or loss as other income on a systematic basis in the same period in which the expenses are recognized.
That is the first category of IFRS, that is book. For that is identification and reorganization and management of estimation and evaluation assets and estimation on the development and extraction of mineral or natural gas and mineral. So that is individual assets. So next is related party disclosure. For this is related party relationship injection and level including commitment in the consolidate and separate financial statement of outcomes. So lastly is even after reporting the period. This standard should be applied to the existing for the disclosure of even after reporting period.
My name is DIA6A and my ID number is IDA20010005. As we already heard the scope of each category, and now I will explain the recognition for each category. First category is intangible asset, which is an entity should assess the probability of expected future economic benefit using reasonable and supportable. Second category determine whether the transaction has been approved by those charged with governance or not. And last category, which is even after reporting the period, an entity shall adjust the amount recognized in its financial statement to reflect adjusting the event after reporting period. Next is measurement for intangible asset is an entity shall choose the cost model or valuation model as its accounting policy. For related party disclosure can commence or cease in the period or leaving question as to whether disclosure should make of the transaction before or after this relationship started or ended. Last but not least, for measurement, an entity normally provided for doubtful debts from the past experience. The bankruptcy of a customer gives further evidence of the loss already existing on the period on a trade receivable.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Ahmad Sarah and I will continue about disclosure of MFRS 138, which is intangible asset. An entity shall disclose the following of each class of intangible asset, distinguishing between internally generated intangible asset and other intangible asset. Next, disclosure of MFRS 124, related party disclosure. If an entity had related party transaction during the periods recovered by the financial statement, it shall disclose the nature of the related party relationship as well as information about the transaction and outstanding balance, including commitments necessary for users to understand the potential effect of the relationship on the financial statement. These disclosed requirements are in addition to the requirement in paragraph 17. Then, I will continue with the disclosure of MFRS 110, even after reporting period. The following are examples of non-adjusting event after the reporting period that would generally result in disclosure, such as a major business combination after the reporting period.
I will explain the first MFRS, which is MFRS 138 intangible asset, and I will start with 7-Eleven Malaysia Holding Berhad. The carrying amount of goodwill and trademark have been identified from the pharmaceutical segment. The following describe each key assumption on which management to undertake impairment tests on goodwill and trademark, which is budgeted revenue and gross profit margin. Second point is the dealership right, which present exclusive right to distribute certain product that has been capitalized amortization period up to 9 years. Next, for the QM sources, for the purpose of impairment testing, goodwill is allocated to the lowest level within the group of which the goodwill is monitored for internal management purpose. The recoverable amount of the cash generating units are based on value in its calculation. This calculation used pre-tax cash flow projection based on financial budget approved by management. And I will pass to my friends to explain the next category.
Next, I will continue with MFRS 124, related party disclosure or transaction. So I will start with 7-Eleven. Related party transaction, review all recurrent and related party transaction within the group to ensure this transaction work at arm's length basis and in the ordinary course of business on terms not more favorable than the generally available to the public and in accordance with the mandate approved by the shareholders. Review the procedure for recurrent related party transaction to ensure that the process and control were in place, and new shareholder mandate for recurrent related party transaction of a revenue or trading nature. For care management, also part of related party disclosure. Care management are manager, director, CEO, CFO, and others. The example of transaction disclosure for key management is the remuneration. Next, QM resources. For the purpose of the financial statement, parties are considered to be related to the group if the group or the company has the ability directly or indirectly to control the party or exercise significant influence over the party in making financial and operating decisions or vehicles, or where the group or the company and the party are subject to common control. Risk management also part of the related party disposal for QR resources. So from this observation, I can see that both companies had various related party disposal since they are in the same industry.
The application of MFRS 124 related party disclosure in 7-Eleven Malaysia Holding Berhad is Caring Pharmacy Retail Management Sdn Berhad, an indirect 75% owned subsidiary of 7-Eleven Malaysia Holding Berhad (SEM), completed the acquisition of equity interest in pharmacy company as well as business assets. Then the application in QL Resources Berhad, subsequent event in June 2020, the company proposed to undertake a bonus issue of 811 million bonus share on the basis of 1 bonus share for every 2 existing share held on an entitled date to determine the announced later. Then the board expects the proposed bonus issue to be completed by the 4th quarter of 2020.